In all, there were more than 24 releases. But the biggest of those names is also the least surprising to me, and it should be to you as well, and that is Matt Riddle, who was officially alerted by WWE of his release at 5:30 in the evening on Friday. Now, this came exactly 2 weeks after the incident at JFK Airport coming back from WWE's show in India that they did, where Port Authority officers, they got a call about a disorderly person who was deplaning. They met that person at the terminal. It turned out to be Riddle. And the cops talked to him and other witnesses on the scene. He seemed apologetic for however he was behaving. There was no police report filed. He wasn't arrested or anything like that. He was free to go. But then he went on social media and he claimed that he was sexually assaulted by one of the officers and harassed. He said, "No means no, and just because I'm nice doesn't mean yes." And he included a photo of the officer who allegedly assaulted him. Less than an hour later, he took the post down, and it was never spoken of again. The Port Authority said they were launching an internal probe to see if his claims had any merit. WWE said they were going to be doing the same. Evidently, the findings of those investigations must not have been kind to Matt Riddle. This all came just days before Endeavor officially took over, and WWE came under new management. So the timing could not have been any worse for Riddle. And he never appeared on television again after that. He missed that Monday Night Raw show that week with what was said to have been a medical issue. Actually, Meltzer said he was told it was bronchitis and a double ear infection. And that's why Riddle was pulled from the shows. I heard that and my bullshit detector immediately started popping off. Maybe he came down with a case of chickenpox, too. Fightful claims he was not part of WWE's creative plans following the incident, despite the fact that he was in the middle of a storyline with Drew McIntyre because they had just started teaming up on television. One source cited Riddle as having, quote, burned through too many chances while in WWE. Riddle posted the following statement: "Just wanted to inform everyone that I am no longer with WWE. Thank you for the memories and opportunities. Also, thank you to all the fans for the support and love you give me every time I go out to the ring. See you all soon." And you know, it's sad. It's almost a year ago to the day that Matt Riddle headlined Extreme Rules and beat Seth Rollins, the man who is currently the World Heavyweight Champion on Raw. Beat him in the main event of that pay-per-view 1 year ago, and now he's out of a job. But I called it on the prediction show in January, the very first sound-off I recorded this year. I said Matt Riddle would not make it through the year before being released, due to all of his personal drama. This man is his own worst enemy. He has nobody to blame for this but himself. You cannot blame Triple H. You cannot blame Vince McMahon. You cannot blame Nick Khan. This is Matt Riddle's own fault. Here's a guy who has all the talent in the world. When it looked like he was bound for NXT, this is going back years. And finally, it looked like he was going to be going to WWE. I said, finally. You know, what took them so long? I figured it was his pot habit. It's probably what kept him from WWE as long as it did and kept them from signing him sooner. But they finally got him. This was right before AEW started up a few months before. I always thought he was going to be a huge star. He had that look. He had the charisma. His work was really good. He was having killer matches on the indies. I really thought this guy could be the next big thing in this company with the right push. He had the run that he had in NXT. He came to the main roster. The RK Bro thing took off in a way that I don't think anybody expected. Randy Orton himself admitted that he was having the time of his life. He was having more fun in wrestling teaming with Riddle than he had ever had before. He looked reinvigorated when he was out there. He looked happy. Opened up a side of Randy Orton that we had never seen before. And it was cut short by Randy's back injury. So Riddle went back to singles, and Vince McMahon, he got a kick out of the goofy stoner gimmick. And he had fucking birds and shit popping out of his feet when he would come to the ring. I mean, he looked like he was having a blast booking Matt Riddle. And he was getting a lot of television time, a lot of exposure. But he could also be serious. We saw that in his feud with Seth Rollins last year. We saw him wrestling Roman Reigns on television for the championship. He was a popular part of the show, but it felt like there was always a ceiling there for him because of all the outside distractions in his personal life becoming so public. They were never going to trust him enough to put the top title on him and run with him in that role. Even before he got called up, the company was aware of the sexual assault claim against him. There was a lawsuit which later got dropped. That claim predated his time in WWE. So they were well aware of it. He came to them and let them know about it. They either didn't think it had merit, or they were willing to overlook it and hope that it went away. There were other women, porn stars, ex-girlfriends, being very vocal about him on social media, painting him in a negative light. All of this drama just spilled out onto social media for the world to see, and it reflects badly on the company when one of your top stars that you're pushing is constantly involved in some kind of controversy, because every story is inevitably going to start with WWE superstar Matt Riddle. Every TMZ story is going to start with WWE star Matt Riddle. And it's the type of publicity that the company doesn't need. They didn't want it before, and I'm sure Endeavor won't want it now. He had a stint in rehab late last year that doesn't seem like it did much good. The airport incident, that was the final straw. It gave them the excuse they needed to get rid of the guy. He was too much of a headache. He became a PR nightmare. And it's sad. It's sad that he cannot seem to get his life in order, and now it has affected his career, and it's going to cost him a lot of money. Now, he's going to do real well on the independent scene. There will be no shortage of promotions that want to work with Matt Riddle as soon as his non-compete is up. So I expect him to be all over the place in 2024. He's not going to be hurting for work. Now, I don't think that includes AEW. I mean, with all of his baggage, he's a headache that Tony Khan doesn't need. I think he's going to work indies and possibly Japan. He did an interview with Ring Rust Radio. That was the year before he signed with WWE. And he said that one of the things on his bucket list was to wrestle for New Japan, or at least wrestle in Japan. He said Zack Sabre Jr.'s situation would be ideal for him because Sabre at the time was working New Japan, he was working Evolve and PWG. And for his resume, checking off the New Japan box was a goal of his. Now that was 6 years ago. People's goals change. If Riddle feels the same way, then he'll make a play to work for New Japan. You know, Mercedes Moné made a deal to work for them, their parent company, and she was at Wrestle Kingdom this year. I would not be the least bit surprised if we get a Matt Riddle appearance or a match at the Tokyo Dome in January. It's very possible. The only thing is, and it's a big thing, is that Japan is very strict when it comes to cannabis, at least as far as possession. Matt Sydal, I mean, this poor bastard, he's still traumatized by what happened to him when he got caught with, I think it was liquid cannabis in his backpack. Somebody tipped him off that he had it in his possession. Somebody narked, and they probably thought he was a drug smuggler, but he got convicted. And they wanted to send him to jail for a year and a half, but he got 3 years probation instead and got to go home. I don't know if the laws there are different now than they were back in, I want to say 2016 when that happened. Probably not. But they don't play around with that stuff over there. But I think more important than worrying about where he is going to land next is him getting his life in order and getting his head on straight. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. But ultimately, it cost him, his big gig and whatever money he'll make elsewhere. And he'll make money. Like I said, he'll make good money, but he had a sweet gig and a sweet thing going in WWE, and he pissed it all away, and he has nobody to blame for that but himself.